Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today I want to address an issue that seems like some GTR owners have with their car. And it's an issue that is very scary and off-putting, and people are not quite sure what's going on. What I'm talking about is if you kind of get a loud metallic popping sound from any one of your four wheels. Now, if you're like me, the first thing you thought is, oh crap, is my transmission gone? Did I do something to my differential? And the answer to that is no. Actually, there's nothing really physically wrong with your car. Your car is not damaged. It's actually a very quick, easy, and simple fix to do. However, two things before we fix it. One, if you do want to see more automotive, particularly GTR and S14 content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And two, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have the JD Archer shop. If you go to jdarcher.bigcartel.com, you can see a limited selection of t-shirts I've designed that are for sale. But with that out of the way, let's fix that horrible noise. The good news is fixing that horrible popping noise is not going to cost you a fortune. In fact, it could possibly not cost you a thing, provided you have all the tools in your garage already. What's causing that horrible popping noise is actually the axle nuts. Over time, they are known to kind of work themselves loose. And what happens is it gives just enough clearance that when you're maybe changing direction or you're turning the car, the axle will kind of move a little bit, creates that horrible popping noise. The good news is actually a free fix, like I said, as long as you have the tools. So just kind of walk you through what you're gonna need. Of course, you're gonna need a standard toolkit. For those of you that have been with the channel for a while, you know I like Craftsman. You know, that whole no questions asked tool replacement program is great, and I've used it quite a few times, so I tend to be a big fan of that. The next thing you're gonna need, you might not have in your kit, and that is a foot-pound torque wrench. It does go up to a pretty high torque. I don't remember off the top of my head. I will bring it up when we're actually torquing the nuts down. So, but you will need a foot-pound torque wrench, something that at least goes to probably like 200, I remember right, or 250. I think they torque down to like 135, but like I said, I'll give the actual spec when I'm working on the car. The next thing you're gonna need that you might not have in your kit is a 32mm socket. That's what you're gonna need. That's the actual size of the axle nuts. Most kits don't carry a socket that big, so you might need that particular one. You might need to go out and buy it. The last thing you're gonna need is something I recommend for all 35 GTR owners. Even if you're not doing this job, if you're just watching the video for your own entertainment, I still recommend you pick up a set of these anyways, and this is the Megan Racing low profile race ramps. The reason why you need these is the front end on the R35 GTR sits so low, you just can't get a hydraulic jack underneath it. It's just too low. And these are the only ramps I've come across that are low enough to clear the front bumper, but will get the front end of the car high enough that you can get a hydraulic jack underneath it and get the car in the air. So like I said, even if you're not gonna do this job on your car, I recommend you pick up a set of these because you're gonna need them sooner or later anyways. The last thing you may want, and I say want, not need, is the actual castle nuts. Now, when it comes to Nissan, they actually put a flat nut on there, which is part of the reason why I think that it actually loosens up over time. Most cars have a castle nut, which looks like, as you'd imagine, the top end of a castle. And what happens is the pin goes through there, and in my opinion, it kind of keeps the nut from working its way out and loosening up. Now, you don't need that. You can go with the stock nuts and just torque them down. That's what I'm gonna do today. But if you want to go a little above and beyond, there is a company, I know it starts with a T, I don't think it's Titan. I'll put a picture right here so you can see it, and I'll put a link from the description down below. So if you want to buy those, it is an option, not a requirement. Now, as with any of my other videos, any of the tools or products you see used in this video, they'll be listed in the description down below, along with links that'll get you to where you need to go. So if you see if there's anything you want or need, you can just click on that link, it'll take you where you need to go to buy that product. Like I said, I'm not going to use the castle nut, but I'll have a link for that as well. But with all that out of the way, let's get rid of that horrible popping sound. The first thing we're going to do, even before we get the car in the air, is loosen up the lug nuts. The reason why you want to do that is if you don't, the wheel spins. So you want to have all the weight on the tires so you can basically break these loose. Otherwise, you're going to have a real issue once the car's in the air. And of course, using a 21mm non-marring wrench here. That way I'm not damaging my wheels. Now that the lug nuts are broken loose, it's time to get the car in the air. Now, this is where Nissan did something really cool. For those of you that have worked on other cars, sometimes you're wondering, hey, where do I jack up the car so I don't damage it? Nissan did something really cool. They gave us specific jack points. Now, if we look underneath the car here, you're gonna see that metal bar. And pretty much that metal bar is where you wanna jack the car up. So I will go ahead and get the jack and get this car in the air. Now at this point, I would generally recommend you put the car on jack stands for safety, but this is gonna be such a quick job. I'm actually not gonna do that. I'm gonna be a little bit dangerous. Just do one wheel at a time, get this all taken care of, hopefully knock it out really quick. So now that the car's in the air, we can finish getting these lug nuts off and the wheel off. So now we've got the wheel off, you can see that this is the axle nut right here. This is what we were talking about, it needs to be torqued down. Now, typically, I'd recommend you remove this, the pin, but it looks like you can actually just put the socket on over it without having to take it out. So that's kind of nice. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna torque it down to the proper torque specs. All right, so here we are. We've got the 32mm socket, our torque wrench, and according to my research, it is supposed to be set at 166 foot-pounds. So let's see how we're doing on this one. 160, 166. All right. Of course, the fender's right turned away. Oh. Well, that makes things complicated, don't it? I didn't even think about it. The brake rotor's gonna turn. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way, because the back, at least you get the e-brakes to hold it in place when it's in the air. Once this is in the air, it's gonna turn. So I'm gonna need to find, this is gonna need a two-person job. You're gonna need someone to hold the brakes down. All right. So as you can hear, the car's running, a little bit noisy. I'm doing the old Hollywood trick. So I found a couple of boxes and my breaker bar, and I'm using that to hold down the brake pedal. So let's hope with the car running and the brake assist, it'll hold this good enough to get this torque down. Whew, you saw that turn. That sucker was really loose. Wow, that was, what, just shy of a quarter, maybe an eighth turn? Wow, that was really loose. That's definitely gonna be my issue. Let's go ahead and do the other side real quick since I got the car running. All right, as we saw, the last side was pretty darn loose, so let's see how this side's looking. Okay, on this side, the pin is actually in the way, so we're gonna have to get it out of the way. All right, so for this one, you just need a set of needle nose pliers. Whew. Maybe a screwdriver. All right, there we go. Now let's see how loose this sucker is. You know what, I'm making this way harder on myself than I need to. I forget about the bonuses of the front side. All right, that one seems like it was torqued down properly. To answer her question, yes, I own a hammer. The wife borrowed it. I don't think I'm getting it back. But that's the front done. Time to move on to the back. Kind of interesting that the passenger side was so loose and this one was still within spec. Now that we're finished with the front, time to turn our attention to the back. Now the cool thing about working on the back is the rear bumper sits high enough that you don't need those race ramps to get the hydraulic jack underneath to get the car in the air. Also really cool, once again, Nissan gave you a jack point. If you see that little nub sticking down right there, that's where you're going to jack from so you don't damage your car. So once again, we're going to go ahead and get the car in the air. Don't forget to loosen the lug nuts first before you do that, and then we'll go ahead and finish up on the rear. So just like the front driver's side, this one's got a much smaller pin, so I don't need to take it out to tighten it down. So given the fact that the rear is where I hear most of my noise coming from, I'm pretty sure this is where it's going to be the loosest. And of course the body is in the way. I'm going to use an extension. God, I don't want to use an extension. All right, let's see. Yep, there's a full turn. Yep, loose, really loose, super loose. Getting there. There we go. That one was really, really loose, so I'm not surprised I'm getting that horrible sound. Let's do the other side. All right, so as we saw, the other side was very loose. Let's see how this side does. Oh man, look at that. That's how loose that is. The weight of the torque wrench itself is turning that axle nut. So, man, that explains a lot when it comes to just I would say I've gotten over a full turn already. There we go, finally getting some resistance. Wow. That sucker was super loose. All right, there we go. At least now I'm torqued down to proper specifications. I can't believe how loose this one was. I think it was all the way up against the pin. That's scary. Maybe I should buy those castle nuts. Maybe they will make a difference. Well, now that all of the axle nuts are torqued down, in theory that popping should go away. So let's go ahead and put these rear tires on and go for a test drive. Now that's on the ground, don't forget to check the tightness of all your lugs, and it's time to go for a test drive. Okay, yeah, I know, a bit of a continuity error. I'm wearing a different shirt. Basically, I decided to do my brake pads at the same time I did the axle nuts, and I got way more dirty than I originally planned, so I thought I would go ahead and get cleaned up a little bit before I went for a drive. But now we're gonna see if we get any popping. Here I am backing up and turning. Not a single pop. So nice. So it looks like tightening that hex. That rear passenger side, that sucker was definitely overly loose, but it's nice to know they're all at the proper torque spec now. But yeah, no popping at all. All right, got another chance to put in reverse and turn, see if we've fixed that. Of course, it's got the horrible beeping, the GTR. I still feel a little bit of a pop from the rear right, but not as bad as it used to be. So maybe I'll try and retorque that one down. As you remember, that one was so loose. It was, you know, the wrench had enough weight to turn it. So maybe that sucker just wants to keep coming loose. Maybe I will have to buy one of those castle nuts. Now time for the real test. It seems like this is where I always got the most popping from the axles. And that's pulling into my parking spot because I'm making a reverse turn here. I'm all the way hard over. Yep, there's a little pop right there. But the pop isn't as bad as it was before, so it definitely made a difference. So, having driven the car now, put it in reverse a few times, I can definitely say that turning every direction for the most part, there's no more pops. I used to get it from both sides. And then the pop I am getting is now only on the rear passenger side, and it's definitely not as bad as it was. Obviously, you saw when I tightened down that nut, it was so loose that the handle's weight alone was enough to turn it. It makes me wonder if maybe that nut has loosened up again. I'll have to take off the rear tire again, take a look at that. If it's already basically backed itself off where it's not at 166 foot-pounds, then I think I'm really gonna have to consider getting one of those castle nuts because that one's just not holding its torque. But other than that, I think it's a pretty successful experiment. At least it didn't cost anything. And now you know that if you have that loud popping on any of your tires, you can just take it off, tighten down the axle nut to 166 foot-pounds, and that should fix your problem or at least reduce it severely. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go hit that thumbs up button to let me know. It does help the channel out a lot. As I did say at the beginning of the video, if you want to see more automotive, particularly GTR and of course S14 content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on all forms of social media, which include Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. There will be links for those in the description down below. Now, after watching this video, if you have any questions, you feel there's anything I've missed, you have an idea to maybe completely eliminate that popping sound or keep those nuts tight, go ahead and post in the comment section down below. I will respond to you. I thank you all for watching, and until next time, forget everything else, focus on the finish line.